closed captioning provided by Beaufort County.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm thrilled to have as our first guest for this show, the once-a-month show with the mayor, Thomas Barnwell Jr. He's a very, very interesting man. Let me read you some of his background here. He's a community leader, a housing developer, public health advocate, veteran historian, author. When he shares his resume with me, I was, wow, this is a wow moment. I mean, he's been in more places and done more good things than anybody you would know in a lifetime. So I mean, for 86 years, he's been working and still doing good. And I'm glad he agreed to talk with us today. Tom is, worked out with Tom for a while in the gym. Man was dedicated to his workout as much as he is to his work. I mean, he did a very good job in it. I'd like to ask some questions, Mr. Barnwell, okay?
Yes, sir.
What's inspired you over the years to do all the work that you've done, both business-wise and community-wise?
Well, let me begin by expressing my sincere thanks, Mr. Mayor, to you for inviting me here to be with you today to talk.
Thank you, sir.
I am very humble, and all of the things that you have mentioned that I have done, they're not things that I have done personally. They're things that I have done jointly with persons from the community. And what really inspired me, your basic question, my mother was born on Hilton-Head-Island, as well as my father. And my mother was a trained, licensed, practical nurse that came back to Hilton Head to provide service to the residents of Hilton Head-Island long before the bridge was even thought of. And she had very little to work with. So that really inspired me, because growing up, when she had patients, she delivered babies throughout the island. She was one of several midwives. And I would drive the horse in the wagon as a young boy with her, and she would talk about things that she wished she had the opportunity to have, to give a greater evaluation of the patient. And she would talk about things like hematocrit. And I said, well, Mama, what is that? And she would explain that to me. Then she would talk about other levels of blood work that would be helpful. And so those were very inspiring things.
No, your mother's done a good job with you.
Thank you, thank you.
What was it like growing up as a young man here on the island?
It was fantastic, Mr. Mayor. We relied on each other as families and neighbors and friends. And we worked together in all aspects of life. Growing up here on Hilton Head, residents who had experience in fishing would train the younger persons, take them out on the boat, show them safety skills, where the best fishing drops were located, how to secure the boat when you came back in from fishing. And also, we got tutored by the older persons on gun safety, because when we were growing up here, we had an awful lot of food that we would grow on the farm. We would go to the river and fish, and we would hunt. On weekends, of course, we had ball games in various communities, and we would enjoy ourselves with going to community ball games.
There are so many things I'd like to address with you today, but the development of the island, could you talk about that for a second?
Well, when you say the development of the island, I had the opportunity as a young person growing up on the island, seeing the development in various phases. For example, when the ferry operated to and from the island, there was a tea and farm service out of Florida that farmed tomatoes on Hilton-Head-Island. To a great extent, during those farming years, they concentrated an awful lot of their activities in the Seabrook communities. So growing up, I had the opportunity of seeing that phase. And after that, I had the opportunity and I worked with the farm during the summer months, as well as many other persons. I had the opportunity of working also with the development aspect of sea pines. As a high school as well as a college student, during the summer, I work, for example, when the original Seacrest opened, I worked for Sea Pines for 50 cents an hour.
Wow.
Doing interior declaration work with the consultants who got the contract, of course, doing specific things, hanging pictures, putting bed heads in place, things of that type. Then after that was completed, they would approve of my work. My work status was approval by the company, so I got an opportunity to operate a skidder. This is a machine that picks up the stumps when the trees were cut and put them on the truck and would take them out to a special area. Burning was permitted during those days. So I did some of that. And it was very interesting to see the change from the quiet, slow pace to the faster moving pace of development. And I got, over the years, as time went on, got an opportunity to meet Charles Fraser and had some conversation with him, even during those days. When Charles started, he had a telephone in a Buick car, and the office was away from the telephone. So when the phone would ring, he would have to leave the building to go to the car to answer the telephone. That's many, many years ago.
That's where you got your flip phone from, right?
That's right. I still have a flip phone. So that answers some of your questions.
Yes, yes. You know, Mr. Fraser built a good part of the island, and it's progressed over the course of the years. Do you think we've missed something in the growth of the island? I mean, did we leave something behind? Did we make it too big at one time, or, you know, and how do we fit into the workforce housing we talk about today? How does that all fit in to the sculpture of who we are?
How does workforce housing fit in?
Yes.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I will attempt to answer your question only in parts because time would not permit me to go into all the intricate details of workforce housing as it relates to the needs that I, along with many other persons, see today. However, I will say that since the town of Hilton Head owned several acres of land, I would suggest that you and your council might take a very serious legal look at how the town might be able to utilize legally some of that land for housing through mechanisms such as long-term leases to a venture designated in some legal way that's arm's length from the town, operating specifically housing for working families in two phases: single-family houses as well as apartment complex. Now, this is why I say it's going to take more than 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes to talk about housing, because that's a very great need. When you start looking at the development of housing, you will need a staff that have, no disrespect to the staff that's on board, and let me digress for a moment and say that I am so happy and pleased to have had from the beginning of Mayor Ben Rakusin to now, with your term, positive working relationship with the staff. Now, what I'm going to say now is housing is just like every specialty that the town must deal with, but it takes a special culture. The culture must focus specifically on, with, and about housing. The financing area, the construction area, the management of housing, the early phases of planning, as well as looking at what parcel of land the town might have in which location of Hilton Head that might be best adapted to the housing needs. Looking at the rental rates, as well as finding other financial opportunities through federal and private sources that could really make that happen. So what I'm saying to you is that this is a real special area that must have all of the components put together.
Why did yourself and so many of the people here that I know join the Air Force and go away for a while? Why not the Navy, the Army, the Marines? It was a lot of you went to the Air Force, and I can never figure that connection out. But was there any reason you all went to the Air Force? You and Perry White and
Well, I went to the Air Force, Mr. Mayor, because I thought the Air Force would have given me the opportunity to do some traveling, and it did. It allowed me to travel not just from this immediate area to Texas, to Florida, to Puerto Rico, and several other places during my 4 years of military service. But I spent most of my time in Puerto Rico, which was very, very fantastic duties. And I enjoyed it. And the specialty area I was in dealt with B-36 airplanes and fire service and security of the B-36 airplanes. That was my specialty area.
Did you and Perry White and all go together around?
No. Perry went to the Air Force earlier than I did. Yeah, but we were both.
Okay, I just had to ask that question. It's always been.
We both enjoyed it. He was in administrative area, and I was on flight service duties.
Early on, we had no hospital here. How do we get our first hospital here on the island?
How did we get our first hospital? Well, we got our first hospital because Dr. Peter Lamont, MD, did the background studies and had a team that he worked with to put all of the necessary papers together for what was called then the Health Systems Agency. And fortunately, he discovered that, he and his committee doing their research discovered that I had a board position on the Health Systems Agency. And at that time, long answer, the county had 11 physicians, including dentists, providing services for Beaufort County with a population of 44,187 people.
Wow.
And of course, Hilton Head then had a population of little over 2,800 or 900 residents and growing with the potential. Well, bottom line is that the doctors, medical doctors in Beaufort City proper, did not really want the hospital to be built because then they would not have the revenue as a result of the growing population of Hilton Head that they did have as a result of medical needs. So the team that Dr. Lamont put together came to me, shared their information with me, and I agreed with the analysis, and there was a positive need. So therefore, one of the other persons that I was very familiar with, I had a discussion with that person to second the motion that I would make at the Health Systems Agency board meeting. And I met with other board members by phone in advance to secure the necessary approval votes. And if I did not do that in advance, Hilton Head Hospital would never have been built.
Wow.
So I did my bit in advance.
The next subject really interests me. I was talking to Carolyn about it the other day. Restoring the Tabby Building you have on your property.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. You want to know about that?
Oh, I was intrigued by it when we were talking about it the other day. I mean,
All right. Well, the Tabby Building is a building that is made structurally. Naturally, it does have wood in the windows and the door ceiling area, and it's all built in to the framework. There are no nails to hold it. It's pegged in. It's made from using sand, cement, all types of shells that you can mention. Conch shell, oyster shell, snail shells, or every shell that you can mention, as well as concrete. And the Tabby Building itself had deteriorated. My father allowed people to come and visit, and they would take whatever it took to chip pieces off and take it away. Long story short. And so I decided in 2016, after having conversations with people in Beaufort, restoration persons such as Colin Booker, who is an architect. He is a special architect. His specialty is restoring tabbies, and he traveled from South Carolina to places in the Caribbean, Puerto Rico, and other places doing just that. And with him, the person that does the physical work, name is Rick Weidman, and he is a specialist. He is, superb. And the cost of restoring the tabby was enormous amount. So we started with phase 1 in 2009, and we completed the project in 2018. And we discovered after the project was all together with the roof on it, I went to the University of South Carolina and had a conversation with an archaeologist, Dr. Kavanaugh, who put her team together with the university staff members that's local, as well as persons who she knew had contacts with other university systems. And they discovered that the tabby goes back to the 1700s. And it is the best preserved tabby building, I'm told now by the professionals who did the work. It's the best preserved tabby building on Hilton Head, and possibly one of the best in Beaufort County.
Are you going to allow people to see the building when it's finished?
Well, that's now, Mr. Mayor, that's a question that's still in process.
Okay.
We want to do it. The answer is yes. I would love very much and I have. Let me answer that in part. Again, I have made provisions already where students from the elementary school, Hilton Head Elementary School, as well as Hilton Head Middle School, have visited the tabby, and I'm hoping that it will be open, but there are specific things that must be taken care of prior to opening it to the public. I would hope that the public will realize the restoration was done totally 100% by the family members.
I'll make sure they do.
Financially.
Yes, and I would like to throw Carol and me get on a guest list. Carol and me like to go visit it when it's open.
Well, yes, sure. We will.
We invite us. We invite us.
Make that happen.
I have 3 more pages of questions, but we're running to the end. I mean, everything from the Mitchellville Park and the fort that was in Mitchellville, and your suggestions for the future. But I just got the signal we're going to cut today and do this on our second visit again.
Oh my.
I thank you very
We're out of time?
We're out of time, out of our half hour. I thank you very, very much for coming. It's always been a pleasure to be with you. And thank you for all you've done for this community. It's really greatly appreciated.
May I say again, thank you personally, Mr. Mayor. Not only you, thank the present town manager, thank the previous town manager, thank all of the town council, thank all of the staff, and especially thanks to the first councilman, Dreesen, thanks to Mr. Ferguson, thanks to Mr. Grant, and now Mr. Brown. And I thank all of you for everything that you're doing to continue to make Hilton Head the place that it is for all of us.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I'm excited by our first guest today, and I'm sure that between Carolyn and myself, we'll put together a whole host of great guests in the very near future. This island is loaded with people of great interest, and it's time to bring them forward. Stay tuned. Another surprise guest coming up next month. Thank you for being with us, and have a good day. If you have any questions, please communicate with us through communications@HiltonHead-Island-SC.gov.
The County Channel is also available on video on demand. Go to BeaufortCountySC.gov, scroll down to Public Meetings, click Watch Now, and then click the Video on Demand button and select your program from the list.
Call the meeting to order.
If you'd like a DVD of this program, click on the link on the right and fill out the order form. And thank you for watching the County Channel.
It's been said the only constant is change, and that's why here at Coastline we want to make you aware of the changes that take place in Beaufort County and the cities within the county. We hope you'll join us at various times throughout the month to see Coastline and the guests that we bring that will tell you what is going on that is going to affect you day to day. That's Coastline here on the County Channel.